Blue's Clues. I honestly don't know how to say this. I've gathered the meager remains of my strength and sanity to type this out. Let this serve as a warning to those that are reading this. It all started one rainy July morning. I was at home, babysitting my sister, like I have for the past month, since summer vacation began. I was eating a bowl of soggy Cheerios, eyes glued to the glowing screen of my laptop, lazily scanning through my social media, glancing at the rain steadily pouring outside and the water beads that dotted my window. I decided that there was nothing better to do than just listen to some music and just chill, kill time. I was about to insert my earbuds when my little sister, eating breakfast downstairs, called me. I slumped down the stairs, noticing how the storm clouds outside cast a grey, gloomy atmosphere inside the house, almost to the point where it was creepy. I asked my little sister what it was she wanted, and she pointed at the TV, wanting me to find something for her to watch. I flicked through the channels until I found one that was playing something that I later realised to be the old kids show Blue's Clues. Now, for those of you who don't know what Blue's Clues is, it's this children's show where this little blue dog always wants to do something, like drink milk or whatever, but her friend, Steve, never knows what that something is. He looks for these paw prints, clues that the dog leaves behind on objects, and pieces them together to reveal what the dog wants. I remember watching this as a kid, but that was ages ago. I vaguely remember something about how the show stopped running, but I thought to myself it must have been a rerun or something, so I shook it off. However, I couldn't shake off the feeling that something's off as I watched Steve sing some dumb song. I didn't think much of it and returned upstairs, back into the company of my laptop and the internet. I plugged in my earbuds when I noticed I had a new email in my inbox. I clicked it open and immediately noticed something strange about the message. The message was from Steve and read, "Are you ready to play Blue's Clues?" What the hell? This must have been a prank, I thought to myself. But immediately, I heard the sound of Steve on the television from downstairs say in his sing-songy voice, "Are you ready to play Blue's Clues?" But that wasn't right. From my bedroom, you shouldn't be able to hear the sound of the TV. I was pretty scared by now, and was about to close my computer and go take a shower when I noticed that the email had a file attached to it. I honestly don't know what it was that made me click download, but it was certainly not my own free will. I took a deep breath and opened the downloaded file, and a video player appeared. I took a deep breath and clicked the play button, the trigger that sets off a series of events that have driven me to the edge of sanity.
Buy a select 2020 Volkswagen today, and you won't pay any interest for the next 6 years. Click, call, or come by your Volkswagen dealer today and get 0% APR financing for 72 months on select 2019 and 2020 models.
The screen was black for a few seconds. Then the scene slowly became visible. It was the scene of the house where Blue and Steve lived. But instead of the usual sunny weather, the sky was dark with storm clouds, and the trees nearby were withered stumps. What was strange was the sky and the house looked so real, unlike the usual fake background. The screen then continued to zoom in on the house, up a chiseled stone pathway that led to the door, until only the door was in view. By now, you could hear some kind of high-pitched whining in the background, but it wasn't particularly loud, more like just annoying. The camera stayed on the door for a while, then abruptly went black, startling me more than just a little. The next scene popped up after a few seconds, camera panning horizontally, showing the house like it's supposed to, with the fake background, except instead of the usually colourful floor and wall, everything was a shade of grey. As the camera moved along the wall, I noticed that the windows were cracked and broken, as well as some of the paintings. There was also various objects on the ground that shouldn't be there, such as broken vases and mutilated dolls. By this point, that feeling of dread was presented again, but I chose to keep watching, reminding myself this was just a Blue's Clues video. By now, the high-pitched whining noise was gradually growing louder, to the point where it pierces my skull. This is enough. The noise is giving me a headache, and every alarm in my body is telling me to stop watching. So I clicked the X at the top right of the window, but instead of closing, the video turned black. Then blood-red text appeared on the screen, reading, "I'm so glad you came." I frantically held down the power button, forcing my laptop to shut down, and the screen went black. Letting out a breath of relief, I reclined in my chair. "I'm so glad you came." Sheer terror flooded my mind as Steve's voice filled the room. The damn video started playing again and cut to a new scene. This one outside the house, in some sort of graveyard. Steve's back is turned towards the screen as he kneels there, cradling something in his arms. I covered my ears as I realized the high-pitched whining noise is coming from Steve. The camera zooms in towards Steve's back, and I could vaguely make out something blue with entrails spilling out of it. I nearly vomited right there, and tears were forming in my eyes as I realized what Steve was cradling. It was a mutilated Blue. But the thing that happened next still haunts me every time I close my eyes. Steve's head starts to rotate slowly towards the camera as his whining turns into a scream. A scream full of madness and evil. Instead of stopping where it should, his head turns a full 180 degrees and stares at the camera. God, his face. That face I can never forget. Where his eyes should have been. 2 empty black sockets remain, with something black trickling out of them. His mouth is stretched in a way that's humanly impossible, as if someone had grabbed all sides of his mouth and stretched outwards. Out of that mouth erupted the most hideous scream filled with unimaginable malice and darkness. In the background, another heavily distorted voice can be heard repeating the phrase, "We're so glad you're here," over and over again. The camera then zoomed back out, all the way back out to the scene with the house, and by now rain had started falling. Then everything stopped. I realized I was shaking so hard I couldn't move, and that I'd been vomiting the whole time. My mind was a jumble of sheer terror and uneasiness. I was paralyzed. A clap of thunder jolted me out of my dazed trance, and I was able to slowly start breathing again. The sharp ding of our doorbell sounded almost funny after everything I'd just experienced. I suddenly remembered that my little sister was still downstairs watching TV, and I stumbled down the stairs, vomit dripping off my shirt. Seeing my sister sitting there staring at the TV screen seemed strange considering the events that just happened. I ran to the door and peeked through the keyhole. There was no one except the rain steadily falling upon the chiseled stone pathway leading to my house. The chiseled stone pathway leading to my house. I nearly blacked out as I realized that was the same pathway as the one inside the video. It couldn't be. That was impossible. I suddenly became very aware that there was something behind that door, and I backed away from it, feelings of terror returning. A sudden outside force took control of my body, and against my will, opened the door. I braced myself for the cruel fate that awaited me, closing my eyes. After realizing that I wasn't being harmed in any way, I forced open my eyes to find a small rectangular object lying on the doormat. I bent down and picked it up, and after examination, I realized it was a notebook with red stains that were fresh, as well as writing on the first page. Record your clues here. This arrow will help hint to you where your next clue is. Good luck. I threw the notebook out as far as I could and locked the door, pulling out my cell phone and began to dial 911, only to be interrupted by my sister's scream of agony. I rushed to her, but I found her frail body lying unconscious on the couch, visible scratch marks around her throat. I began to feel the familiar terror begin to invade my body again as I spotted something on the coffee table. Something that shouldn't be there. The notebook. With shaking hands, I read the message written in red. Don't do that. You'll spoil the fun. We want to have fun now, don't we? I stared in shock as I realized that it, whatever it was going to make me play this horrible game, even if it meant hurting my loved ones. I took a shaky breath, telling myself that it wasn't going to be anything bad. I mean, it was just a harmless kids game, right?
Now at 7-Eleven, get any sized coffee for $1 or a big gulp drink for just 49 cents with 7 rewards. Is that what you want? Oh, we know. We might know you better than you know yourself. 7-Eleven, always open.
I ended up killing a few of my best friends, mutilating them in ways unimaginable. I had no choice. If I didn't, he would do the same to me or my family. Once I finish a game, the notebook disappears. Once in a while, when he wants to play, I'll play with him. I mean, once you get to know him, he's a pretty nice guy. I'm losing my sanity. He's done something to me that's made him part of me. That's why I'm warning you. God, it's happening again. Please, don't end up like me. I'm warning. We're so glad you're here. This video was made possible by the support of my patrons, especially you guys in the highest tier. You guys are way too generous,